For years, China's biggest military transport plane depended on an engine bought from another country, and that dependency just quietly disappeared. The Xian Y-20, nicknamed Kunpeng, after a creature from Chinese mythology, just received a new engine that fundamentally changes what this aircraft can do. This plane can already lift roughly 66 tons of cargo and carry a single Type 99A main battle tank across a range of about 7,800 kilometers. Today I'm breaking down exactly what changed, why it took nearly 2 decades to happen, and why military analysts are calling this a genuine turning point. The Y-20 program actually began all the way back in 2006, launched by Xi'an Aircraft Industrial Corporation as China's answer to America's C-17 Globemaster III. It first entered operational service with the People's Liberation Army Air Force in 2016, a full decade after the program originally started. But here's the problem nobody talks about. The original Y-20 was built around a foreign engine, and that single detail limited everything the aircraft could actually do. That engine was the Soloviev D-30KP2, a Russian-designed low-bypass turbofan, also used on the older Il-76 transport plane. This dependency was always considered a stopgap, because China's Air Force had already struggled for years to source enough Russian engines for its existing Il-76 fleet alone. So before the real fix arrived, China tried an intermediate solution, and it's one most people outside military circles never even heard about. Some Y-20s switched to the domestically built WS-18, an engine roughly 300 kilograms lighter than the Russian D-30, with modestly improved thrust and fuel efficiency. But industry insiders understood this the entire time. The WS-18 was never the real answer, it was simply a placeholder ahead of something far more capable. That something is the WS-20, and understanding what makes it different requires looking at where it actually came from. The WS-20 is a high-bypass turbofan derived from the core of the Shenyang WS-10, which is itself a Chinese fighter jet engine, now adapted specifically for transport use. So let's talk numbers, because the performance jump here is the entire reason this upgrade matters so much. Reported figures put the WS-20 at around 31,000 pounds of thrust, compared to just about 26,450 pounds for the older D-30KP2 engine it replaces. A Beijing-based military analyst described this jump to state media as giving the aircraft a higher takeoff weight, a longer range, and the ability to use noticeably shorter runways. Think about what that actually means in practice. A heavier aircraft that can fly further and land in more places than it ever could before. But getting here wasn't a quick or simple process, and the timeline reveals just how difficult building your own transport engine actually is. Single-engine flight testing of the WS-20 is believed to have occurred by February 2019, based entirely on imagery and reporting that emerged gradually through Chinese social media, particularly Weibo. 4-engine testing followed by around December 2020. Again pieced together from social media images rather than any official government announcement. That secrecy tells you something important. China wasn't ready to publicly confirm this engine until it was fully proven and ready for real deployment. So when did China finally go public about it? That moment came in March 2023, and it was a significant one. An AECC executive stated that China had overcome the remaining technical bottlenecks on engines, including the WS-20, confirming years of quiet development had finally paid off. Around that same time, Y-20 aircraft equipped with the new engine were redesignated Y-20B and began entering active PLAAF service. And this isn't just a paper upgrade either. Reporting into 2025 confirmed a serial numbered Y-20B example based at Kaifeng with the 13th Transport Division. That's real, operational, in-service confirmation, not just a prototype sitting in a testing facility somewhere. But the WS-20 story doesn't stop with the standard transport version, because there's a second variant worth understanding too. A tanker variant, sometimes called the Y-20U or Y-20B tanker, has also been observed testing with WS-20 engines and a revised wing-mounted refueling pod configuration. That's a shift away from the older centerline pod design, and it's specifically intended to improve China's overall air-to-air refueling capacity. Now here's where this story stops being just about one aircraft and starts being about global strategy. Analysts note the significance goes far beyond raw performance numbers, because the WS-20 removes a foreign engine dependency at a very specific and important moment. Russia's own capacity to reliably export military engines has been strained by its war in Ukraine, meaning China's old supply chain wasn't just inconvenient, it was becoming genuinely unreliable. So the WS-20 isn't just an engine swap, it's China closing a strategic vulnerability at exactly the moment that vulnerability was becoming most dangerous. This engine is also viewed as central to something much bigger, China's broader push towards self-reliance in high-performance aerospace propulsion. That's a field that has been dominated for decades by just 4 countries: the United States, Russia, France, and the United Kingdom. China, building a competitive high-bypass transport engine domestically, puts it in a conversation it simply wasn't part of before. So what does this actually mean for the size and reach of China's airlift capability going forward? Industry forecasts cited an Aviation trade press project. The combined Y-20 airlifter and tanker fleet could grow toward roughly 200 aircraft over the coming decade. That's not a small number. That's a fleet size that would materially extend China's ability to project air power toward Guam and the Western Pacific region. Let's put the entire timeline together, because seeing it laid out really shows how deliberate this whole process actually was. 2006, the Y-20 program launches. 2016, it enters service running on a Russian engine. Then comes the WS-18 stopgap, followed by years of quiet WS-20 testing pieced together from social media. 2023, China officially confirms the bottlenecks are solved. And by 2025, we have confirmed serial numbered Y-20B aircraft already stationed with an active transport division. That's nearly 2 decades of steady, patient engineering, moving from foreign dependency to genuine self-reliance, one incremental step at a time. And this pattern matters because it's not unique to the Y-20. It reflects exactly how China has approached advanced technology across multiple military programs. Identify a foreign dependency, build a domestic stopgap to buy time, then quietly develop the real long-term replacement until it's fully proven and ready. The WS-20 just happens to be one of the clearest, most well-documented examples of that exact strategy actually playing out in real time. And the timing lines up almost perfectly with Russia's reduced ability to export engines reliably, which makes this feel less like coincidence and more like calculated planning. So next time you see a Y-20 in the news, remember it's not just a big cargo plane, it's a symbol of a much longer strategic shift. It represents nearly 20 years of moving away from a Russian-designed heart and toward an engine built entirely within China's own borders. And with roughly 200 aircraft potentially entering service over the next decade, this shift is only just getting started. This raises a much bigger question though, one that goes beyond just the Y-20 and its new engine entirely. If China has successfully closed this exact gap in transport aircraft propulsion, what other foreign dependencies is it working to close next, and how far along are they really? I actually cover exactly that in another video on this channel, breaking down the other major technologies China has been quietly localizing using this same stopgap then replace strategy. If following this engine's journey from Russian dependency to full domestic production kept you interested, that next video takes the pattern even further. So click on that video next, because it picks up exactly where this WS-20 story leaves off. You'll see the other programs following this same playbook, and just how close some of them already are to their own March 2023 moment. It's the same self-reliance strategy we just walked through, just applied across several other critical military technologies at once. This isn't a story that ends with one engine. It's a pattern that's reshaping an entire military supply chain piece by piece. Go watch it next, and you'll understand exactly how deliberate and how far-reaching this entire strategic shift really is.